Elite chef dared a simple woman to cook the hardest dish. He didn't know she was a 7-star chef. The dare that made 9 million phones light up began with one cruel laugh. Grand Avenue Plaza glowed like a stage. Drones buzzed. Viewers typed hearts across live screens. Chef Alec Graves lifted a ladle and drank in the cheers. "Tonight," he shouted, "I prove there is no chef above me." His grin could cut steel. Beside the crowd, a small woman in a sunflower dress arranged herbs on a folding table. Her name tag said, Mira. She tried to stay invisible. Alec spotted her anyway. "You market girl." He pointed the ladle as if it were a sword. "Think you can cook? Make the phoenix stew. One wrong move and it turns to bitter ash." Laughter exploded. Cameras zoomed. Mira raised her head. Her voice was soft but steady. "I accept." Silence fell so fast it felt like a held breath. Alex smirked. "Lose, and your stall is gone forever. Win and—" He shrugged like the idea was a joke. "If you live, we will talk." Mira slipped a tiny 7-pointed star back into her pocket before anyone saw the light it gave. The game had started, and the city didn't know the legend was the quiet woman they laughed at. The challenge spread faster than steam. By the time Mira left the plaza, Better Market Girl Zalik was the top tag in 12 countries. Street screens replayed the moment she said, "I accept." Some clips looped her 3 words over dubstep beats. Others slowed Alec's smug face to a crawl. Mira kept her eyes down, cradling a small box of herbs as if it were treasure. Night buses hissed past. Teenagers pointed, trying to match her face to the viral clip. She ducked into a narrow alley, then climbed 2 flights of iron stairs to a door the color of rain. Inside waited 300 square feet of quiet. A single bulb, 1 rusted sink. Yet the room held a calm that no palace kitchen ever gave her. Mira set her herbs on the counter, locked the door, and pulled the curtains tight. Only then did she reach under her collar for a thin silver chain. At its end hung a key no bigger than a thumb. She slid it into a padlocked tin box on the highest shelf. The lid opened with a sigh. Inside lay a velvet pouch, a folded photo, and a notebook covered in flower fingerprints. From the pouch, she took a small pin shaped like a sun's 7 sharp rays around a white diamond center, the 7-star seal. Fewer than 10 chefs on Earth owned one. None had ever sold it. Mira turned the pin over, tracing scratches along its edge. Each mark was a memory, a royal banquet in Vienna, a jungle feast for flood survivors, a night in Singapore when the Sultan wept because her soup tasted like his late mother's. Those days felt like another life. She set the pin beside the photo. The picture showed 2 young chefs in white coats. Mira, hair-tied, eyes bright. Next to her, a tall man laughing, apron smeared with chili. Evan Graves, Alec's older brother. The caption scribbled in blue ink read, "First service together. Fire burns. Hearts learn." Mira swallowed. The next memory always came like smoke under a door, silent, choking. The gala kitchen. A faulty valve. Evan shoving her toward the exit, shouting, "Run!" The blast of heat. Then silence except for alarms and her own screaming. She never cooked for the world again. Downstairs a cat yowled at a garbage lid. Mira blinked back to the present. She shut the tin box but left the notebook out. The cover bore her mother's handwriting. Recipes are promises. She opened to the first page. The ink had faded, but the words still glowed. Phoenix stew revives the broken. The stew Alec had dared her to make was here, written by her mother long before elite chefs called it impossible. The notes were simple, almost like a lullaby. Find honest bones. Let the fire kiss, not burn. Feed the broth your story. Mira traced the lines. Her market stall was the last thing she owned from her mother. If Alec forced it shut, the family legacy would vanish. Not happening. Never. She flipped to the back page a blank sheet she saved for emergencies. With a blunt pencil she wrote 3 goals. Win the cook-off. Protect the stall. Heal what guilt broke Evan's memory. Alec's anger. My own heart. A kettle whistled. She poured hot water over dried chrysanthemum petals. The pale gold color reminded her of the stock she would need. 48 hours until the televised cook-off. A normal chef would sleep. Mira began planning. First, ingredients. The Phoenix stew asked for bones of a bird that has sung at dawn, roots that remember frost, a heat strong enough to scare, gentle enough to soothe. Poetic, yes, but Mira spoke the language of food. She scribbled a shopping list. Free-range chicken frames still warm from morning song, carrot tops the grocer usually throws away, ginger older than most students watching the stream, sea salt harvested on a new moon, cheap items yet magic in the right hands. Her phone vibrated unknown number. She almost ignored it, but the preview line read, Official cook-off contract. Mira tapped. A neon PDF flickered. Competitor Mira Fernandez. Confirm participation by 6 a.m. or forfeit. Under stakes she saw it in cold letters. If competitor loses, vendor license JM212 will be revoked. If competitor wins, Chef Alec Graves will donate Graves at the Crown to the National Children's Food Fund. The city thought it was a show. For Mira, it was oxygen. She hit accept. Time 2:07 a.m., 45 hours left. She pulled a dented pot from the shelf, filled it with tap water, and set it over a blue flame. The gas clicked twice before holding. The hiss sounded like applause in miniature. Mira dropped a single chicken bone in. The water clouded, then cleared. She closed her eyes and listened, bub, 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 steady as a heartbeat. She adjusted the knob until the bubbles matched her pulse. Calm, sure, alive. Out on the street, a reporter filmed a stand-up. Sources say the mystery vendor has less than 2 days to master a recipe. Most chefs need 2 months to test. Experts call her chances microscopic. Inside, Mira skimmed fat from the surface with a wooden spoon carved by Evan long ago. She whispered to the broth, "We've beaten worse odds." Her phone pinged again. A friend from the market sent a clip. Alec on late-night TV, laughing. "She'll crack in the first hour," he bragged. "Can't even spell reduction, I bet." Studio audience roared. Mira smiled, gentle as snowfall. "Spell it," she murmured. "I taught it." She lifted the spoon, let one drop fall on her tongue. Even with one bone and plain water, the flavor had the start of dawn in it. Clean, brave, promising. On the windowsill, the 7-star pin caught the street lamp's glow. Mira tucked it back in the tin. Fame could wait. Right now, the fire needed tending, and promises needed keeping. She set her alarm for 5 a.m., leaned back against the cold wall, and let the soft simmer sing her to a 2-hour sleep. The city outside kept buzzing, but the real heat, quiet, steady, unstoppable, was growing in this tiny kitchen, Tomorrow every scrap would find its soul, and the world would learn that legends do not always roar. Sometimes they whisper until the moment they are called. Sunlight hit Mira's face like a timer bell. 5 a.m. sharp. Her alarm never even had to ring. She rose from the kitchen floor, bones stiff but spirit clear. The broth she'd started at 2:15 now shimmered gold, sending gentle steam ribbons through the room. She tasted a sip. Morning had never felt so alive, but flavors could wait, signatures could not. The city's food league demanded all paperwork be signed in person. Mira ladled the broth into a flask. No sense wasting early magic, grabbed her mother's notebook, then strapped her herb box to her bicycle. She pedaled toward the skyline, skirt fluttering behind her like a small flag saying, "I'm still here." Grand Avenue looked nothing like last night's spotlight circus. Vendors swept confetti into piles. A drone lay dead beside a pretzel stand, its blinking red eye the only leftover applause. 3 blocks away, the Food League's glass tower scratched the clouds. Mira parked, smoothed her sunflower dress, and let the lobby swallow her. Marble floors, walls lined with celebrity cookbooks, flat screens looping highlights, Alec sprinkling salt in super slow-mo, Alec waving at fans, Alec, Alec, Alec. She wondered if the building ever slept without his face. An elevator pinged. Out stepped Lana Cho, lead producer for the Impossible Dish Invitational, high ponytail, power suit, tablet in hand. She eyed Mira up and down with polite confusion, as if the sunflower dress had wandered in alone. "You're Mira Fernandez?" Lana asked. "Yes." "You look shorter than Twitter says." "Flavor isn't measured in inches," Mira answered, too calm to sound cocky. Lana's left eyebrow rose, score 1 tiny point for the stall vendor. Inside the conference room, contracts waited like courtroom verdicts. 3 pages for Mira, 3 for Alec, 2 for the network's streaming rights. A camera crew filmed every pen stroke to certify complete transparency. Irony tasted metallic on Mira's tongue. Lana tapped the first page. "Rules are simple on paper, at least. 48 hours from now, midnight Saturday, both of you present 1 dish. Phoenix stew, no substitutions, no extensions." Understood. Each competitor may bring only 5 personal tools. A list of banned gadgets scrolled on screen. Thermal lasers, nitrogen baths equipment Alec loved. Interesting. "Ingredients?" Mira asked. "You purchase them today. Budget is unlimited but must be itemized on camera for fairness." Lana spoke the word fairness with capital letters, like she wished it were bigger. Mira signed page 1. Page 2 held the stakes she'd already read online. Lose stall revoked. Win Alec's flagship restaurant, Graves at the Crown, becomes a charitable academy. But a new clause caught her eye. In the event of contestant misconduct, a replacement judge will be appointed. "Is there talk of misconduct?" Mira asked. "Standard clause," Lana said too quickly. Mira's spoon sense tingled. When someone oversalts words, truth floats to the top. She signed anyway. Final pen stroke, and a bell rang through the room literally. 2 assistants wheeled in carts piled with cooking gear and branded aprons. "Promo shoot," Lana announced. "Smile, stir, done in 10. Cameras rolled. Mira held a wooden spoon and pretended to swirl an empty pot. Across the room another door slammed. Alec strode in wearing a leather chef's jacket that cost more than Mira's yearly spice budget. Flashbulbs flocked to him like birds to crusts. He noticed Mira, flashed a toothpaste ad grin, then whispered loud enough for boom mics, ready to go back to selling parsley. Mira answered only by tightening her grip on the spoon. The handle felt like Evan's hand guiding hers through her first roux steady, patient. "Places!" Lana clapped. "Mira, Alec, face off. 3, 2... The promo host, hair sprayed into a perfect wave, leapt between them. "Food fans, the Impossible Dish Invitational begins. Chef Alec versus Market Miracle Mira. 48 hours, one legendary stew." Mira's stomach flipped at her new nickname, Market Miracle. She hadn't done anything yet. But the cameras loved labels. Let them talk. She would let the ladle prove it. Cut. Lights down. Lana escorted Mira to the hall while Alec lingered for solo poses. Blue steel with a whisk, tiger gaze with a cleaver. Halfway to the elevator, Mira heard a hissed conversation behind a frosted door. "$5 grand each, cash," Alec muttered. "You vote my stew top score. No one will question it." A lower voice answered, "What if the secret judge notices?" "He won't. I already sent him truffle caviar. Everyone has a price." Mira stood still, heart hammering louder than last night's crowd. She'd suspected arrogance. She hadn't expected open bribery. Footsteps approached. She slipped into a janitor's closet, held her breath. Alec and a small man in a Food League badge walked past. When the corridor cleared, she stepped out, anger burning, but mind steady. She could scream to Lana, post an expose online, hope justice won. Or she could outcook the bribe so completely that any crooked score would look absurd. She chose fire over noise. Outside, the morning market burst with scent. Rain-wet mint, ripe tomatoes, fish on ice. She wheeled her bike along stalls, live stream drone above her like a metal gull broadcasting every purchase. "Bones of a bird that sang at dawn," she murmured. A farmer held up free-range chickens, feathers still dusted with dew. Perfect. Roots that remember frost. She found parsnips with tiny ice scars near their tips, evidence they'd survived winter ground. Crowd clusters formed wherever she stopped. Some yelled advice, others offered selfies. Mira stayed gentle, thanking each vendor by name. Kindness, she'd learned, seasons reputation better than salt. At noon she tallied her list. Poultry frames, winter roots, storm-dried seaweed, and a bundle of humble carrot tops food most chefs ignore. Cost under $50. The crowd gasped when they saw the figure appear on the live stream overlay. Chat exploded. "She's trolling Alec. Legend in the making. Cheap food. Big heart." Mira strapped the groceries to her bike. The drone kept following. Viewers loved the underdog angle. She felt eyes everywhere, yet inside she carried a quiet pocket of focus no lens could touch. Back home, she washed the vegetables in cool water. Each motion was a promise. Each peel a step closer to midnight victory. She set 2 pots on the stove, one for light broth, one for dark. Dual stocks, dancing together, something her mother called the hidden flame. On her phone screen, Alec went live, towering in a luxury kitchen packed with sous chefs and gadgets. He slammed Wagyu beef, black truffles, and gold leaf onto the counter. "Price equals power," he told his viewers. "Watch and learn." Mira clicked the phone dark and whispered to her simmering pots. "Sometimes power costs $50 and a clear soul. Outside, twilight rolled in. 41 hours left. Rules had been written, deals had been made, and cameras were everywhere. But real judgment would come on spoons, not contracts. Mira tasted her twin broths, one bright as sunrise, one deep as dusk. Together they told a story no bribe could silence. She smiled, fed the fire another stick of hope, and kept stirring. 40 hours left. Across town, 2 kitchens woke up to very different mornings. Chef Alec's studio looked like a science lab inside a music concert. Neon lights glowed under steel counters. 10 junior chefs wore black coats with his silver G logo. Tech crews wired microphones to every pot. A digital clock on the wall shouted the time in red numbers. Quarantan. Alec clapped for silence. Rule 1, he barked. Nobody breathes on my Wagyu. Rule 2, failure is unemployment. Clear? Yes, chef, the team answered, half terrified. He tapped on a tablet and hologram recipes floated in the air. Moisture graphs, flavor curves, chemical alerts. A robot arm slid out to slice onions into exact cubes, each one 4 millimeters wide. Viewers on the live stream spammed flame emojis. Alec smiled at the camera. Perfection is math, he said, and I wrote the numbers. 5 subway stops away, Mira's kitchen smelled like stories. Steam curls danced around wooden spoons, not lasers. Her entire crew was 2 people. Benny, a teenage dishwasher who had just quit Alec's team after the bribery attempt, and Mrs. Kamal, the spice vendor next door who insisted on helping. Mira tied her hair back with a ribbon the color of saffron. First task, she told them, listen to the broth. It speaks. Benny blinked. Broth talks. Not with words, she laughed. With little changes. When it's happy, bubbles sigh, not scream. They leaned over the pot, gentle bloop bloop, like a cat's purr. Benny nodded, suddenly serious. Mira's live stream started on Benny's old phone balanced against a flour jar. No graphics, no edits, just raw kitchen sounds. Yet, within minutes, 10,000 viewers tuned in, then 20. Comments scrolled. This feels cozy. ASMR broth. Teach us, Market Miracle. Mira waved shyly. Welcome. We're cooking with heart, not hype. Stay if you like warmth. 11 a.m. Both streams went side by side on a popular food website. Watch Genius versus Underdog. Alec saw the split screen and snorted. Zoom in, he ordered. Time to give them a lesson. He set a tomato on the board, grabbed 2 knives, and began a blur of motion twin blades flashing like silver wings. In 8 seconds, the tomato became perfect petals of a rose. He tossed it in the bin. Practice, not product, he told the camera. Applause emojis flooded chat. But a few viewers asked, why waste food? Meanwhile, Mira held the ugliest carrot ever grown, twisted, cracked. Some chefs throw this away, she told the stream. We give it a second life. With slow, sure cuts, she shaped the carrot into a tiny phoenix. Nothing fancy, just enough to keep its spirit. She set it aside for garnish. Chat exploded with heart icons. Benny whispered, your hands move like you're saying thank you. Because I am, Mira answered. 1 p.m. A courier from the Food League arrived at Mira's door with a sealed box. Official sticker, urgent note. Replacement sea salt for competitor. Benny signed. Inside was sea salt, yes, but soaked in bitter lye. 1 pinch could wreck a gallon of soup. Benny stared at the label, confused. Mira sniffed the crystals, frowned. This smell, not ocean, soap. Mrs. Kamal narrowed her eyes. Sabotage? Mira smiled, unbothered. She pulled out a metal strainer, rinsed the salt in warm water 3 times, then spread it on a tray and set it in the sunlit window. Camera zoomed on the process. Chat went wild. Smart move! She fixed poisoned salt like it's nothing. Plot twist. Back in Alex's lab, an intern named Lucia stirred the base for his gold leaf glaze. The sugar hit 2 degrees over target. Suddenly burnt caramel scent. Lucia panicked. Alex stormed over, eyes like blades. You ruined it! Sorry, chef. He grabbed the pot to hurl it in the trash. But the live stream producers begged, let us keep rolling, drama cells. Alex sighed and shoved the scorched pot at Lucia. Fix it, or you're out. Lucia, shaking, ran to the service elevator-only place not on camera to cry. She bumped straight into Benny, delivering fresh ginger to Mira. Tears meet sympathy. Benny listened, then took the burnt pot upstairs. Mira, can you save this? She'll lose her job. Mira sniffed the sauce, stirred, nodded. Easy. Burnt sugar holds secrets. She added a splash of her dawn broth, a pinch of coffee powder, and zest from an orange. 10 quick stirs. The dark smell turned into rich mocha caramel. They returned the pot to Lucia in the elevator. Her face lit up like sunrise. Lucia carried the sauce back into Alex's kitchen, heart racing. The cameras caught Alex's shocked face when the once bitter glaze now smelled like a Paris café. How did you? He asked. Lucia met his eyes. Someone showed me kindness. She did not name Mira, but viewers guessed. Clips of burnt sauce miracle hit social media within minutes. 10 million views by dinner. Hashtag not Team Mira rocketed past Alex's sponsor tag. 5 p.m. Alex's clock blinked 31 chows. He slammed a whisk down hard. No more mistakes. Lock the doors. No staff leaves. Fear chilled the air. Across town, Mira's little kitchen glowed like a campfire. Volunteers from the market arrived with bags of bones and roots. They formed a line, chopping, washing, giggling at the live stream comments. Someone played soft guitar. The broth hummed along. A food critic watching both streams tweeted, Chef Alex shows what money can buy. Mira shows what money can't. My palate is leaning toward heart. As midnight neared, Mira combined her twin stocks in a clay pot. The mixture turned a color cameras couldn't describe, somewhere between honey and dawn light. She tasted 1 spoon, eyes closing. Memories of her mother's humming, Evan's laugh, the promise of tomorrow, all in a sip. Benny asked, What does it need? Rest, she said. Broth is like people. It grows deeper after it sleeps. They covered the pot with a linen cloth. Outside, stars blinked over the city, unaware they had competition in this humble kitchen. Alex, still live, plated gold leaf test samples under harsh studio lights. His face looked tired, the shimmer of victory dulled by suspicion that maybe, just maybe, perfection wasn't math after all. 30 hours left. 2 fires burned on opposite sides of town, one loud, one quiet. By tomorrow the whole world would taste which flame told the better story. 29 hours, 58 minutes left. The Food League wanted drama, so they announced a 1-hour ingredient dash. Cameras, drones, even scooter-riding vloggers crowded the gates of Riverside Grand Market, the oldest bazaar in the city. Whoever left the market first with a stamped receipt would gain 10 bonus points for planning and efficiency. Alex smirked. Points were oxygen to him. An air horn squealed. Alex shot forward, pushing a gold-trimmed cart, 4 assistants in tow. They wore wireless earpieces like secret agents. "Stage 1, protein," he barked. They raided the gourmet stall. Blue lobsters, A5 Wagyu, beluga caviar. The vendor's eyes formed dollar signs. Alex slapped a black card on the counter. Cha-ching. Livestream chat. Flex level. He's speed-running luxury. Half a courtyard away, Mira held a humble woven basket, no wheels, no team. She moved slower, greeting each farmer by name. "Morning, Mr. Chen. How's the soil after that rain?" "Rich and thankful," the farmer beamed, handing her 2 plump chickens that still smelled of dawn grass. Viewers typed, "Did she just sniff a chicken?" Mira smiled to the camera. "Birds fed at sunrise carry the taste of song." Alex sniffed a tray of Italian white truffles. "I'll take the lot," he said, voice loud enough for nearby microphones. Cost $12,000. Mira passed the same stall, lifted 1 truffle, then set it back. "Expensive doesn't equal essential," she whispered to Chat. She stopped at a bargain bin of oddly shaped turnips. "Roots that remember frost," she recited from her mother's notes, choosing 4 for a total of $2.20. Comments split into camps, Team Wallet versus Team Wisdom. On row 12, Mira's eyes lit up at a crate marked "Sunrise Mint Last Batch of the Season." The leaves were tiny but glowed silver green, perfect for the Phoenix stew's cooling note. She picked a healthy bunch, paid, and slid the bundle into her basket. Behind a tower of fruit, Alex's floor manager, Marcus, watched. He signaled another assistant. When Mira turned to thank a fan for a selfie, the assistant swapped her fresh mint with wilted stems that reeked of ammonia, then vanished into the crowd. Livestream viewers caught only a blur. The sabotage camera angle was lost in the sea of phones. Back at the weighing station, Mira unpacked her items. She spotted the dead mint, instantly brown edges. No life. Benny, filming on his phone, panicked. "They poisoned your herbs." Mira inhaled once, twice, steadying her breath. "This is a test, not poison," she said. "Every problem hides a door." She raised her eyes to the market gate beyond which lay Riverside Park, an untamed strip of riverbank. "Benny, we're going for a walk." Mira jogged toward the park, live stream still rolling. Chat zoomed. "Where is she going?" "Side quest unlocked." Morning sun lit wild grass, dew sparkling like sugar crystals. Mira knelt beside a patch of low plants. "Sunrise Mint's wild cousin grows here," she explained. "It hides under shade." She brushed away leaves to reveal tiny silver crescents, fresher than any store-bought bunch. The camera caught her fingertips trembling with quiet excitement. She snipped only what she needed. Forage rule: leave more than you take. A nearby mother walking her dog asked, "Are you that chef from the Dare?" Mira nodded. The woman handed Mira a brown paper bag. "Fresh thyme from my garden. Use it for luck." Stream. Community buff activated. Within 15 minutes, Mira returned to the weighing station with mint richer in aroma than the stolen batch. The crowd cheered. Even the cashier clapped while stamping her receipt. Meanwhile, Marcus smugly delivered Mira's stolen mint to Alec's prep table. Alec crushed a leaf between his fingers. Brown slime coated his glove. "You call this mint?" he spat. Marcus stammered. "It looked fine when I grabbed it." "Grabbed it?" Alec repeated, eyes narrowing as producers leaned in, smelling a headline. He tossed the wilted bundle in the trash. Useless. Clips of the exchange hit social media in minutes. Pair them with fans' shaky footage of the mysterious herb swap, and a storm brewed. Mintgate trended within an hour. Polls swung. 68% now rooting for Mira, only 24% for Alec, the rest undecided. Back at headquarters, Lana Cho watched analytics spike. Viral waves meant bigger ad revenue, so she convened the judging panel for an emergency announcement. Because of suspected tampering, both competitors will undergo basket checks upon entry and exit. Any sabotage will cost 15 points. Word reached Alec. Fury simmered. Every ounce of negative press felt like sand in his finely tuned gears. At 2 p.m. Mira visited Mr. Chen again, buying 2 extra chickens. "For your family dinner," she told him, handing one back. Mr. Chen's eyes softened. The live stream showered digital roses across the screen. Benny whispered, "Why gift food on a contest day?" "Because generosity is seasoning," she replied. "It lingers in the dish, even if unseen." Alec's receipt, 38,640. Wagyu, truffles, lobster, caviar, saffron. Mira's receipt, 78.45. Dawn chickens, turnips, frost roots, wild mint market form steaks, gifted time, no cost. Food blogs posted side-by-side photos mountain of luxury items versus a modest spread glowing with life. Comment sections argued, laughed, picked sides. In Alec's high-tech fortress, gold shimmered under LED strips. Yet he tasted a slice of truffle and frowned. Something felt hollow. In Mira's candle-lit kitchen, the air smelled of river wind and fresh mint. She ground thyme with sea salt, each twist of the mortar releasing tiny clouds of green perfume. Benny scrolled through chat. "Miss Mira, people keep typing the same line." He showed her the screen. Cheap ingredients, priceless soul. Mira blushed, then focused on her pot. She added the just-foraged mint steam rose, carrying a note so bright even the camera lens seemed to clear. Midnight flashed. 24 hours remained. The market mayhem had shown 2 truths. Alec could buy anything except public love. Every time someone tried to break Mira's spirit, the city handed her another key. Tomorrow would bring harder trials, but tonight the hidden flame burned stronger, scented with wild mint and a crowd's growing faith. 24 hours left. Morning light seeped into both kitchens like an alarm with no snooze. Cameras were already rolling. The world wanted its next cliffhanger. Alec's studio smelled of truffle, fear, and fresh ego. He paced while his team chopped in silence. Views had dropped overnight. Too many people now watching Mira's cozy stream. Alec slammed a saucepan. "We need a headline," he hissed to his sous chef Ren. "One more error on her side, she's done. Send someone." Ren swallowed. "Lucia won't. Benny's gone, only Sam is .new. Sam, the youngest intern, 17, still wearing his culinary school name tag. Eyes too kind for this kitchen. Alec bent low. "Sam, be useful. Take this." He held out a vial of distilled lime acid. "Pour 3 drops into a Dawn stock. It'll curdle in seconds. Looks like she overheated it. No cameras in her back corridor. Easy." Sam's hands shook, but ambition whispered louder than conscience. He pocketed the vial. Ren escorted Sam to the service elevator. "In, sabotage, out. Got it?" Sam nodded, but sweat soaked his collar. As the elevator descended, he pulled out his phone. Chat feeds flashed. "Mira's kindness saved Lucia. She fixed burnt sauce. Cheap ingredients, priceless soul." Sam's thumb hovered over the power button. He sighed, slipped the phone away, and stepped into the alley behind Mira's building. Mira hummed a lullaby while skimming her golden broth. Mrs. Kamal ground spices. Benny diced turnips, each cube small and proud. The clay pot at center murmured like a peaceful river. Knock, knock. Benny opened the back door. "Can I help you?" Sam kept his head down. "Delivery extra ice." Mira nodded. "Bring it in, thank you." No drones here. Only one ceiling camera that pointed toward the main counter, not the storage shelf where the broth rested. Perfect spot for sabotage. Sam crossed the room. The broth sparkled amber. He uncapped the vial. 3 drops. Job done. He lifted the ladle to be sure the acid mixed. Then something strange happened. A puff of steam touched his face, carrying notes of wild mint, thyme, and dawn sunlight. He tasted air that felt like a memory. Without thinking, Sam dipped a clean spoon, sipped 1 drop. Instantly he was 6 years old, standing in his grandma's kitchen, smelling her healing chicken soup after a flu. Tears blurred his eyes. Mira turned. "Are you all right?" Sam blinked. The vial slipped from his fingers, clinking on the floor unopened. He fell to his knees. "I'm sorry," he choked. "Chef Alec, he told me. I can't do it. Your broth, it feels like home." Mira knelt beside him. Benny froze, eyes wide. She spoke softly. "We all make hard choices when we're scared. The choice after that matters more." Sam pulled the vial from the floor, still sealed. "I want to help you, not hurt you, if you'll let me." Mira looked at the trembling intern, then at the pot, then back. She smiled. "Wash your hands. Aprons on the hook." Benny filmed the entire scene, his reflexes now faster than gossip. At 9:12 a.m., Benny posted the clip labeled, "Kid sent to ruin, broth breaks down, joins Mira instead." Within 10 minutes, for 1 million views, hashtag Turncoat for Good began trending. Team Mira rocketed to the global #1 spot, beating a pop singer's surprise album drop. Influencer comment: "When food is strong enough to change a heart, that's chef power, not kitchen power." Sponsors watching Alec's stream called Lana Cho. "Viewership is tanking on his side. Fix the narrative or we pull ads." Lana rubbed her temples. Alec saw the viral counter tick upward for Mira, downward for him. Fury boiled. He stormed to Lana's office. Cameras chased. "You let her humiliate me." Lana kept her producer smile. "Public hearts pick their hero, Alec. Maybe show more heart." She pitched it like a garnish suggestion. Alec growled, slammed the door, stomped back to his lab. Wren met him. "We're low on saffron." "Order more." "Suppliers say they'll only sell if we donate leftover food like Mira does." Alec's jaw clenched. "Since when did charity become currency?" Wren answered softly, "Since the world watched kindness beat gold yesterday." Mira assigned Sam a simple task, washing herbs. His hands still trembled, but purpose steadied them. Mrs. Kamal whispered to Mira, "You trust him this fast?" "I trust the moment," Mira said. "Fire purifies metal, choice purifies people." They returned to work. The broth accepted new layers, roasted turnip skins for depth, a ribbon of honey for hope. Sam stirred, cheeks red from heat and emotion. Chat scroll. "Sam redemption arc. This is better than any cooking show. Someone call Pixar instant movie." Around noon, a courier delivered a legal envelope to Alec's studio. Inside, a notice from the Food League Ethics Board, pending inquiry into alleged bribery, Chef Graves. Hearing scheduled post-competition. Alec tore the letter. Cameras caught every rip. View numbers dipped even lower. Meanwhile, Mira's viewer count hit 8.2 million, highest live audience in the platform's history for a non-sports event. Donations poured into the Children's Food Fund, already topping 300 tonselski, the charity slated to inherit Alec's restaurant if Mira won. Irony tasted sweet like caramel, but Mira focused on her ladle, not on numbers. 17 hours left. With 3 steady assistants, Benny, Mrs. Kamal, Sam, Mira prepared her stew's heart layer. Bones slow braised with river stones heated over charcoal. The camera zoomed on the clear bubbles rising like tiny lanterns. Sam whispered, "Chef, why stones?" "Stones remember rivers," she said. "They share that memory with the broth, cool and steady." Sam nodded, eyes shining like he'd discovered a secret spell. Benny checked trending charts and gasped. "Chef Mira, you just passed the World Cup qualifier in live views." Mira almost dropped her spoon. "That's many eyes." "Many hearts," Benny corrected. She exhaled. "Then let's serve them hope worth watching." Alec tasted his caviar foam, technically perfect, emotionally empty. He stared at his reflection in a steel bowl and saw a lonely king in a castle of gadgets. Across town, Mira sprinkled sunrise mint into the simmer. Steam curled upward, framing her face like gentle wings. Chat wrote in unison. "We can smell the kindness." Midnight minus 14 hours. Sabotage had melted into sympathy, fear into faith. One drop of broth had flipped a soul, and with it, half the internet. Tomorrow the judges would taste. Tonight the city already had, and it tasted forgiveness. Night pressed against the tiny kitchen windows like soft velvet. The stew now rested in its clay cocoon, heat low, flavors deepening. Benny and Sam snored on makeshift mats, worn out but happy. Mrs. Kamal had gone home to feed her cats. For the first time in 30 hours, Mira stood alone with silence and with memories that never slept. She opened the tin box and lifted the photo of herself and Evan. Steam from the stove kissed the edges, curling them slightly, almost as if trying to warm the past. Mira traced Evan's smile. "You'd laugh at all this," she whispered. "You always said cooking is a song, not a sword." A single tear splashed onto the table. She let it sit. Salt belongs in every recipe. The streetlight outside flickered, and the kitchen air became a screen playing yesterday. 4 years earlier, Monteverde Grand Hotel. Crystal chandeliers, tuxedos, reporters. Mira, only 25, had just earned her 6th Michelin star that afternoon. The gala tonight would decide the impossible, a 7th. No one in history had reached it so young. "The girl's a prodigy," critics said, "a shooting star." But to Evan she was just Mira, the woman who loved carrot tops and sunrise mint. He kept her grounded, teased her when she plated too many flowers, reminded her to eat her own food. He was 3 years older, gentle, endlessly curious. They planned to open a community kitchen together once the pressure of fame calmed down. That night he wore a charcoal suit and a grin wider than the ballroom. He twirled her once in the hallway behind the main kitchen. 7 stars tonight, he said. Then we're free. Free to cook what matters, she answered, heart pounding with joy, not nerves. Backstage, Chef Leon the feared, revered Emperor of Taste waited with a team of judges. A single spoonful of Mira's signature light and dark consommé would decide everything. Mira's hand was steady as she carried the tureen to the tasting table. Evan stood behind, giving a silent thumbs up. Chef Leon tasted. Time froze. At last he set the spoon down, eyes shining. He opened his mouth, but a sharp hiss cut him off. Gas leak alarm. A tech ran in shouting, "Valve rupture near Station 3. Station 3, the dessert corner where Evan had been prepping honey tuile. Mira's world narrowed to one thought, get him out. She sprinted, skirts flying. Evan knelt by the stove, trying to shut the valve himself. "It's jammed," he said, coughing. Mira grabbed his arm, pulled. At that instant, metal screamed, sparks flared, and a boom threw them both against a stainless steel table. Darkness swallowed sound. She woke outside, face wet from the hotel fountain. Sirens wailed, smoke poured from shattered windows. She screamed Evan's name until her throat tore. Paramedics held her back. The air reeked of burned sugar and panic. Hours later, they found Evan. Alive for 3 minutes in the ambulance, long enough to squeeze the medic's hand and say, "Tell Mira keep cooking." He never arrived at the hospital. The next morning, news spread. Evan Graves, rising chef, brother to 6-star Alec Graves, dead at 28. Cause, gas explosion. Media hunted for blame. Inspectors found the faulty valve, but gossip still bit. Some whispered that Mira's push for a 7th star led to hectic prep, made Evan rush, miss the leak. Alec, raw with grief, didn't stop the rumors. At the funeral, he stood at the podium, eyes red. When Mira tried to hug him, he stepped back. "You chase stars and cost him his life," he said, voice cold as burial soil. Mira felt the words like cleavers. She returned the 7-star medal to the culinary board and vanished from fine dining overnight. The world shrugged, found new trends. Only Alec kept collecting stars like shields against sorrow, while Mira hid in the market, selling herbs, promising never to cook for glory again. The kettle whistled in the present, yanking her back. She poured hot water over chamomile, hands steady now, no matter how much the past shook them. A soft rustle behind her. Sam had woken and heard enough to piece things together. He glanced at the photo. "That's Chef Alec's brother, isn't it?" Mira nodded. "And you were engaged?" "Almost. We didn't wait for rings. We were saving for a little restaurant." She folded the photo and slid it away. Sam's voice was fragile. "Does Alec know you're still carrying that dream?" "He knows only anger. It's heavy. He can't see past it yet." Sam stared at the glowing pot. "Maybe tasting this stew will show him." "Maybe," she said, though doubt flickered. Guilt can silence taste buds, but hope, like yeast, can rise in darkness. Benny stirred awake, rubbing eyes. "Morning already?" "Not yet," Mira smiled, "but the broth wants company." She handed him a spoon. They tasted together. Layers of memory wrapped around them, singed sugar of loss, sweet mint of forgiveness, bone-deep warmth of new beginnings. It was almost ready, but not quite. Stew needs time, like grief. On the other side of the city, Alec lay sleepless in his designer loft. He scrolled through feeds until he saw a still frame from Benny's latest post. Mira, holding Evan's photo under soft lamplight. Pain flared, but something else cracked through curiosity. What was she cooking that drew lost interns and half the planet? He slammed the phone face down, but the image burned behind his eyelids. For the first time since the funeral, Evan's memory tasted less like blame and more like longing. Back in the humble kitchen, Mira added one final note, a single star anise pod. She watched it float, turning slowly, like the 7th star she once surrendered. "Tomorrow," she whispered to the broth, to Evan, to herself, "we rise together." The clock read 6 a.m., 12 hours to showdown. The hidden flame glowed, steady and bright, while far away a proud chef felt the first faint warmth of doubt. 11 hours to go. The city buzzed under bright noon sun, but inside Mira's kitchen the windows were curtained. Light would interfere with the next step, coaxing her twin broths into one clear, glowing heart. She called it the Phoenix Essence. Her mother had called it the Midnight Miracle. Either way, it had to shine like sunrise trapped in water. Benny set 3 clay pots on a low charcoal stove. Sam measured the fire with a small ruler. Flame must kiss the pot, not bite it, Mira reminded him. He adjusted the bricks until the tips of blue fire licked the clay with steady rhythm. They poured the dawn stock into one pot, the dusk stock into another, and left the center pot empty. Mira sprinkled river stones into the empty pot first, heating them until they clicked. The clicking sounded like tiny drums guiding her heartbeat. She closed her eyes, breathed in time with the rhythm, then ladled equal streams from the 2 side pots into the middle one. Steam rose like pale silk. The smell slipped through the doorframe, down the stairwell, and into the street. A delivery biker stopped, sniffed, and went live on his phone. "Something magical's cooking in this building," he whispered to a growing crowd of viewers. Within minutes, a small knot of people gathered outside Mira's apartment. Some were market friends, others just curious noses. They kept silent, listening to the soft bubbling above. Inside, Mira added the foraged mint, the frost-kissed turnip peels, and 1-star anise pod, the 7th star floating on the surface. She whispered a story to the broth, of Evan, of lost dreams, of new hope. Benny and Sam said nothing, respecting the quiet. After 20 minutes the steam changed color, from grey-white to faint gold. Mira caught one droplet on a metal spoon. It looked like liquid amber, but clearer than any honey. "Taste," she told Benny. He sipped, eyes wide. "It feels like my grandma humming," he said. Sam tried next. Tears appeared again. "And like my first good grade," Mira nodded. "Then it's ready." She ladled the glowing stock through a silk filter into a tall glass jar. Against dim kitchen light it looked like bottled sunrise. Sam screwed on the lid, slipped it into a padded wooden box, then locked the latch. This was the Phoenix Essence. Only a half cup would flavor the final stew. Across town, Alex stared at a tablet showing a real-time heat map of social media. A red spike pulsed over Mira's address. "What the—" Lucia, now only half loyal, tried to speak. Her stream went private for a bit, but locals say the smell— "I don't care about smell," Alex snapped. "I need that broth." He grabbed his coat. "Ren, keep cameras rolling here. I'm going on a field trip." Mira's building had no luxury security, just a sleepy doorman. Alex slipped in wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. Cameras on the street caught only a tall stranger entering. He climbed 2 flights, found her back corridor, and pressed his ear to the door. Soft humming, clink of glass, laughter, too many witnesses. He needed a different angle. A service window for trash sat open near the stairs. Alex stretched, peeked in. On a side table he spotted the wooden box, unattended for one breath while Sam folded towels. The box latch looked simple. He timed the moment. Reach in, lift, gone. In 3 seconds he held the warm box against his chest, heart racing. He hurried down the stairs, out the alley, and into a waiting car. No one inside had seen him, but the biker outside live-streamed the alley. Viewers caught Hoodie Man dashing with a wooden box. Comments erupted. "Thief! What was that?" Alec didn't care. Back at his studio, he bolted the door, dismissed all staff but Wren, and opened the box. The jar gleamed. Even filtered air of the lab filled with notes of mint and dawn wind. For a moment, Alec simply breathed. "Recipe hack time," he said, lifting a silver syringe. He drew 20 ml of stock into the tube, but before he could cap it, the liquid clouded, yellow to brown, brown to grey. He cursed, drew another sample, same result. The essence was dying in his hands. Lucia touched the jar. "It's cooling too fast," she whispered. Her clay stove kept it at a living temperature. Alec shoved the jar aside. "Heat it." They placed it on induction heat. 30 seconds later, a foul smell rose sour metal. The essence curdled like ruined milk. Alec gagged, pulled it off, but too late. The miracle was gone. Wren stared. "What now?" Alec wiped his sleeve across sweating forehead. "We still have her recipe profile. We reverse engineer." But the lab's motion camera had recorded the whole theft. Media servers auto-uploaded everything. Lana Cho received the file within minutes. Alec stealing competitor property on the day of finals. She phoned him. He ignored the call. Back in Mira's kitchen, Sam finally noticed the empty table. "The box! It's gone!" Benny checked hallway cam replay, a glimpse of Alec's hoodie. Anger flared, but Mira stayed calm. "He fell into the river," she said. "Huh?" "He stole a fish that lives only in flowing water. Out of its stream it turns to rot." She poured new stock from the side pots she had saved half just in case. The aroma remained bright. Sam sagged in relief. "You knew someone might steal it?" "Human hunger is loud," she said, "but kindness plans ahead." Benny posted a statement. "Stock stolen, but flavor lives. Finals still on." The clip ended with Mira smiling, ladle in hand. Viewers cheered. Donation numbers surged again. Stockgate overtook Shank's Mintgate in minutes. Alec finally answered Lana's 10th call. Her voice was sharp as cracked glass. "Return what you stole, or the board will disqualify you." "It's already ruined," he muttered. "Then you ruined yourself," she replied, hanging up. 7 hours remained. In Mira's pots, new essence began to glow, brighter than before, proof that some flames grow stronger the more shadows push against them. 6 hours to go. A grey rain began to fall, but the city felt hotter than ever. Every cafe TV, bus stop screen and phone in a pocket now showed one of two feeds, Alec's ticking clock or Mira's glowing stew. Hashtags mixed like oil and water. Team Mira in bright pink. Chef Alec in corporate blue scrolling across every corner of the internet. Outside Food League headquarters, reporters crushed together beneath plastic ponchos. A rumor, small at dawn, had grown fat by noon. A secret Emperor of Taste judge was flying in to crown the winner. No one knew which jet, what name, or even what continent. The mystery turned the cook-off into a World Cup final. Lana Cho stepped onto a balcony and held up a single sheet of paper. "Official statement in 2 hours," she shouted. "No more, no less." The press groaned, but stayed. Inside the building, Alec marched toward hair and makeup. His stolen and spoiled stock still clung sour in the air around him. An intern sprayed lemon mist as he passed. Views on his stream had slipped below 4 million, and sponsors were ready to bolt. Alec needed one fierce push, something dramatic, something loud. He ordered 2 new cameras, both mounted low so his 6-foot frame would tower on screen. He pulled on a starched white jacket stitched with platinum thread. When the red tally light blinked, he leaned forward, voice soft, eyes blazing. "People of taste," he said. "There has been talk of tricks and tears. Tonight ends talk. Tonight only skill counts." He lifted a gold spoon. "Watch." Chat reacted with split personalities. Half flame emojis, half clown faces. But a spike of viewers flooded back. Drama, after all, was its own spice. 2 miles away, in the tiny flat that smelled of mint and river stones, Mira faced a different camera, that same dented phone, now taped to a broom handle. She stood behind her clay pot, hands folded. "I need to close the stream for final work," she told 9.4 million watching souls. "Before I do, please remember, food is a bridge, not a wall. Find someone you love and cook for them." Benny panned down to show 3 bowls of broth resting on a wooden tray, one for him, one for Sam, one saved for Mrs. Kamal. The chat slowed to a hush of heart emojis. Mira bowed once, then pressed end. Even offline, her influence pulsed. Viewers tweeted pictures of themselves handing soup to neighbors, co-workers, even strangers. The phrase "bridge broth" began trending in 21 languages. Lana, glued to analytics, let out a whistle. Who teaches half a planet kindness in 10 seconds? She pushed a button on her desk phone. "Board members, get here. We need contingency plans." 5 managers filed in. Before anyone spoke, an assistant rushed forward holding a tablet. "Breaking airport security footage. Possible secret judge." He pressed play. The video showed an elderly man stepping off a private jet, silver hair, walking stick carved with a phoenix. No entourage. Yet every staffer he passed bowed or gasped. Chef Leon, the Emperor of Taste, was in the city. Confirmation enough. Lana's heart did a cartwheel. Leon was famous for loving simple flavors, despising bribes, and disappearing for years between events. If he chose Mira, sponsors would cheer. If he chose Alec, the internet might riot. Either way, numbers would explode. She looked at her managers. "We triple camera crews. This finale cannot glitch." Meanwhile, Mira packed her essentials. 1 chef's knife worn thin by years, a ceramic ladle, her mother's notebook, the jar of Phoenix essence, and the 7-star pin. Sam noticed her slip the pin into a hidden pocket. "You're going public about it?" he asked. "Only if it helps the stew speak," she answered. They loaded everything into a borrowed cargo van from Mr. Chen. Rain drummed on the roof, steady as a metronome. Benny drove. Sam kept the jar safe between his knees. Mira watched apartment lights blur outside the window, mind calm, heart humming. At headquarters, Alec rehearsed plating on a mock table. Gold leaf fluttered, caviar beads lined up like soldiers. Yet every arrangement felt flat. He stared at the shimmering but empty bowl and heard Evan's laugh echo in memory, gentle, teasing, alive. His hand shook. A bead of caviar rolled away, leaving a black streak on white porcelain. He wiped it hard until the plate almost cracked. A door opened. Lana stepped in, flanked by 2 ethics officers. "Chef Graves, there will be a basket search when you arrive on stage. No outside liquids allowed." "Looking for poison," he sneered. "Looking for trust," she said. "Also, Chef Leon is the final judge." She watched his face for any flicker of fear. Alec's jaw set like concrete. "Then I'll give him something he's never tasted." He turned to his team. "Prep the nitrogen spheres." Outside, Mira's van rolled to the service entrance. Volunteers from the market were already there, forming a bucket brigade, but instead of water, they passed tiny ice packs hand to hand. The Phoenix essence must stay at exactly 58 degrees. One slip, the glow would fade. Rain soaked the volunteers, but they kept the line moving, cheering softly. Mira stepped out into the drizzle. Lights from media trucks painted the wet pavement neon. As she walked the corridor, staff members, some she knew, some total strangers, bowed their heads. Not star worship, but respect for calm strength. She carried the jar like a lantern. Backstage, 2 security officers inspected her crate. They saw bones, herbs, and humble tools. No truffles, no glitter. They stamped the pass. Mira thanked them and entered the green room. Only a thin partition now separated her from Alec. She could hear his mixers whirring, his team shouting temperatures. He, in turn, could smell her broth's mint and stone perfume curling beneath the divider like a patient invitation. A stage manager called, 15 minutes. Rain stopped. The world held its breath. In the judge's box, Chef Leon took his seat, eyes closed, listening for a song only true food could sing. Mira fastened the 7-star pin to her apron, right over her heart. Alec tightened his platinum buttons until they squeaked. 2 chefs, 2 stories, 1 taste away from fate. 10 minutes. 2. Showtime. The arena lights rose like a second sunrise, painting every steel counter in silver. On one side stood Alec, jacket glowing white, surrounded by gadgets that hissed and blinked. On the other side stood Mira, plain apron, wooden spoon in hand, a single clay pot before her. Between them, huge screens showed a ticking clock, 120 minutes to serve. The host's voice boomed, "Chefs, begin!" Alec spun first. Liquid nitrogen fog spilled across his table as he flash-froze caviar into shining pearls. Cameras swooped in. Crowds gasped. It looked like magic. Mira did something far smaller. She closed her eyes, placed her fingertips on her own neck, and counted. 1, 2, 3 steady beats. Then she adjusted the flame under her clay pot until its bubbles matched that quiet rhythm. People nearest to her station leaned forward. What was she measuring? Why so still? Chef Leon noticed. The old master touched the rim of his seat, listening, as if he could hear the pulse through the floor. Benny's phone streamed every second. "Everyone at home," he whispered. "Feel your heartbeat and set your stove to it. Mira calls this the heartbeat technique." Chat lit up like a sky of sparklers. "Trying it now." "My soup just calmed down." "Is this cooking yoga?" Across the city, apartments and cafes echoed with soft thumps as millions pressed fingers to wrists. Gas knobs turned down. Kettles settled into gentle hums. Viewers felt for the first time that they were inside the arena too. Alec glanced over and scoffed. "Parlor trick," he muttered. He whipped cream into a foam, forced air with a siphon, and blasted it with gold dust. Spectators cheered the glitter, but some eyes drifted back to the quiet pot whose lid barely trembled. Mira began adding layers. First, the river-heated stones, clicking softly as they cooled. Then a ribbon of Phoenix essence, glowing pale gold. Steam lifted, kissed her face, curled upward like a question answered. She stirred once clockwise, once counterclockwise, left for memory, right for hope. Sam watched the clock. 100 minutes. Alec's team moved like a pit crew. Ren torched Wagyu slices. Lucia polished plates until they mirrored the ceiling lights. They built height, color, shine. Every element screamed luxury. Mira sliced her frost-scarred turnips into paper-thin moons. The knife glided, not chopped, each stroke timed with her breathing. Benny, filming close, realized her cuts fell exactly on heartbeats. No more, no less. Viewers typed that their own breaths slowed just watching. At 80 minutes, Alec prepared his final stunt. Spheres of saffron gel that burst into smoke when bitten. He tested one. The sphere popped, sending saffron mist into his nose. Spectacular, but it stung. He coughed hard. Lucia handed him water. Cameras caught the moment. Chat teased, "When flex hurts." Mira tasted her broth, eyes closed. She added a single pinch of sunrise mint. Nothing else. She did not test twice. Faith stood beside skill. Chef Leon smiled faintly, recognizing an old lesson returned to life. Stop when the food says enough. 65 minutes. A sudden thump echoed audio feedback from Alec's station. One nozzle jammed, nitrogen leaked. White fog poured over the floor, hiding shoes, chilling tiles. Tech crew rushed with towels. Alec swore under his breath, but he kept plating, fingers stiff from cold. Mira used the pause to begin tiny dumplings filled with heart-layer meat. Dough soft as silk, sealed with a twist resembling a phoenix tail. Sam slid trays into a bamboo steamer. Thin steam joined the minty aroma, weaving a story in the air. Even people in the back row smelled comfort. 50 minutes. Lana Cho whispered into her headset. Close-ups on audience faces. The director followed. Viewers in the stands lifted their own wrists, timing pulses subconsciously. A teenage girl beside her father leaned over. "Dad, do we still have that soup pot at home?" He nodded, eyes glossy. "Your grandma's pot. We'll use it tonight." Back at Mira's station, the dumplings finished. She opened the steamer camera lenses, fogged, then cleared, revealing neat bundles shining with broth. She whispered, "Thank you," to the pot, then ladled broth into bowls hand-thrown by a local artisan, no two alike, like hearts. A single dumpling in each, mint leaf afloat, liquid glowing. 35 minutes. Alec's dish stood ready, Wagyu curls on rice paper, caviar snow, saffron smoke spheres, truffle shavings, gold leaf rain. It looked like a banquet for royalty on another planet. He crossed his arms, confident again. "Done. Let her finish her tea." Mira was indeed pouring tea-clear broth left in the pot into a tiny cup for Chef Leon to cleanse his palate. Polite, simple, and a last bit of aroma to drift across the judge's table. 20 minutes ticked by. Mira wiped her counter, nothing left to add. She placed her mother's notebook under the pot lid, just for luck. Alec noticed, recognized the handwriting, Evan's doodles on the cover border, and something inside him twisted. Stage hands rolled both trolleys to the judges. 3 critics sat left, right, and center. Chef Leon sat center. Bowls of phoenix stew glowed like dawn. Alec's plates glittered like night stars. Silence dropped so thick even cameras quieted. Chef Leon lifted Mira's spoon first. He inhaled. The steam carried time, river wind, and in some impossible way hum. He tasted. 5 seconds. 10. He set the spoon down gently, closed his eyes, let breath out slow. No words. He moved to Alec's plate, cracked the saffron sphere. Smoke whooshed. He coughed just once, waved it away, tasted. Eyebrows rose impressed at technique, but the old eyes stayed cool. He sipped Mira's broth again, then touched 2 fingers to his wrist, measuring his heartbeat. It matched the simmer still whispering in the clay pot across the stage. Around the world, millions mirrored him, hand on pulse, waiting. Chef Leon opened his eyes. In their shine was an answer, but the words would wait for part 11. The clock froze at 0 minutes. The taste test was done. Hearts everywhere thumped in perfect, quiet rhythm. The tasting was finished, but the arena stayed silent. Judges huddled in a glass room above the stage, screens frosted for privacy. They would need 30 minutes to debate. 30 minutes felt like 30 years. Mira breathed slowly, palms resting on the warm clay pot. Benny and Sam stood behind her, calm but buzzing. Across the floor, Alec paced in circles, jaw tight, fingers drumming his thighs like angry hail. A giant monitor showed a live popularity poll, just a side feature for viewers at home. Numbers flickered. Team Mira, 70%. Team Alec, 26%. Undecided, 4%. Each new vote felt like a pebble dropping on Alec's pride. Sponsors' logos on the walls had tiny icons next to them. One by one, 3 icons switched from green to orange payment on hold. The 4th icon, an energy drink brand, went red, dropped. Alec barked at Ren, "Find Lana. I want that poll off the feed." Ren disappeared, came back. "Producer says it's contractual. Viewer engagement." "Engagement?" Alec scoffed. "They're carving my tombstone live." He marched past crew, past cameras, down the service hall that led to the cold storage units. He kicked the door open clang. Inside, stainless steel cabinets hummed, each stamped with a contestant number. Mira's freezer, B-17, sat nearest the exit. A single green light confirmed power. Alec's mind raced. If judges asked for a second tasting, her remaining broth could save her again. But if it spoiled? He stared at the panel. One red switch would cut electricity to the entire bank for maintenance. His hand lifted. Back on stage, Benny glanced at the monitor showing security cam thumbnails. One box flickered. Alec in the freezer corridor. "Sam, look." They saw Alec's fingers brush the switch. Benny grabbed a walkie open channel. "Chef Mira, freezer threat." But metal walls blocked signal. Static. Sam bolted no time for stairs. He slid down a ramp used for rolling food carts. Feet first, arms flailing, he landed hard and sprinted. Alec flipped the switch. The green light on number B-17 died. Compressors fell silent. He stepped back, satisfied, then froze as a door slammed. Sam skidded into view, breathless. "What are you doing?" Sam shouted. "Protecting my legacy," Alec hissed. Sam's eyes flashed anger, but also something softer pleading. "Your legacy was Evan's dream too. He wanted food to heal. Evan is gone because she chased glory," Alec snapped. Sam shook his head. "He's here in her broth, in every kid she's fed this week. You're the only one missing." Alec flinched. For a second, guilt cracked the armor. Then his face hardened. "Go help your saint." He brushed past. Sam slapped the switch up. Power returned, but temperature had already risen. He yanked the freezer open. Inside, trays of leftover dumplings extras Mira planned to share with cleaning staff sat half-thawed, skins sweaty. Sam's heart sank. Meat at that zone might turn in 20 minutes. He loaded trays onto a cart and sprinted. Mira saw them arrive. Limp dumplings, dripping, doomed. Benny explained in urgent whispers. The arena clock showed 17 minutes left before judges would call for any retaste. Mira didn't curse. She smiled a sad smile, but firm. We never waste food. She lifted one sagging dumpling, thought for 2 seconds, then spoke quick orders. Benny, grab that flat-top grill. Sam, soy sauce and sugar. Mrs. Kamal. Ah, she's here, need chili flakes. The spice vendor had slipped in with the volunteer crowd and hurried forward. Mira warmed the grill, brushed oil, laid dumplings flat. They hissed. Steam met iron. Skins browned to a crisp lace. She mixed soy, sugar, chili, and a spoon of phoenix essence no longer needed for tasting bowls. She reduced it fast. Syrup bubbled foamy and thick. Benny fanned the steam toward the audience stands. 100 noses lifted. What new miracle was that? Mira flipped each dumpling, edges turning golden. She glazed them with the syrup, then sprinkled sesame seeds Sam found in the pastry station. 30 seconds later, she slid the sizzling dumplings onto bamboo plates, handed them to arena ushers. For crew and guests waiting, people bit in. Crunch burst sweet, hot, savory, flooded mouths. A cameraman cried out, "Best snack ever!" His live mic broadcast it worldwide. Viewers who'd switched channels flipped back to see why strangers were dancing on the stadium floor. On a balcony above, Chef Leon peered down, amused. A judge next to him said, "Improvisation under fire. Impressive." Leon said nothing, but his eyes twinkled. Alec returned to the stage. The roar puzzled him. Then he saw volunteers licking sauce from fingers, chatting happily with judges' assistants. The dumplings he had tried to destroy were now a festival appetizer. Wren whispered the new trend tag, "Big's Crispy Karma Dumplings." Alec's cheeks burned. Another sponsor icon blinked orange. He gripped his polished counter so hard his knuckles blanched. Up in the frosted room, the judges finished discussion. The glass cleared. They stood. A bell rang. Time for the verdict. Mira wiped glaze from her hands, straightened her plain apron. Underneath, the 7-star pin brushed her heart like a steady drum. Benny and Sam stepped back, proud. Dumpling sauce still perfumed the air, hope seasoned with spice. Alec lifted his chin, forced calm, but inside a storm cracked foundations he'd ignored for years. For the first time he wondered if skill and money and sabotage weren't enough, what part of him was still a chef? The host strode to center stage, cue cards trembling with excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen, the judges have reached a decision." Silence swallowed the arena. Cameras zoomed on 2 faces, one serene, softly glowing, one glossy, breaking at the seams. The verdict waited just one breath away, but Alec's meltdown was complete. In trying to freeze another's heart, he had only thawed his own bitterness for the world to taste. A hush filled the arena as the host lifted his mic. "The judges have—" Chef Leon raised a quiet hand. Every light seemed to dim. "There has been irregular temperature loss in one competitor's freezer," he said, eyes swinging toward the back hallway. "For absolute fairness, I ask both chefs to present the core of their dish once more fresh at dawn. A final spoon at sunrise will decide the winner." Gasps rippled. Cameras cut to Alec, then to Mira. A fresh tasting meant another night of work, but also removed any shadow of doubt. The crowd approved, cheering loud enough to shake banners. Time now, 8:15 p.m. Sunrise was just 10 hours away. Alex spun on his heel, barking orders before he even reached his station. "Fire up the combi ovens. We'll rebuild everything." His crew looked drained, but fear pushed them on. Mira, by contrast, gathered Benny, Sam, and Mrs. Kamal in a circle. "We still have bones, herbs, and heart," she said. "That's enough." Sam managed a tired grin. "Heartbeat technique all night?" "All night," she answered. They rolled the clay pot and remaining ingredients onto a flatbed cart. Outside the arena doors, rain had stopped. The air smelled of wet asphalt and possibility. A sudden cheer rose from the sidewalks. Hundreds of people waited, market friends, streaming fans, curious strangers, holding small lanterns made from paper cups and tea lights. A little girl stepped forward, gold ribbon in her hair. "Miss Mira," she said shyly, "Mom said you saved a chicken from the trash bin once. We brought ice packs so your soup can stay cold while it rests." Behind her, a human chain formed, dozens carrying coolers and reusable bags filled with frozen gel packs. They'd followed Benny's plea posted minutes earlier. "We need a human fridge." Mira's throat tightened. "Thank you," was all she managed. The crowd split into two moving rivers, escorting the cart through city streets. Whenever an ice pack melted, fresh ones appeared. Phones lit the way. Laughter bounced off buildings. High above, Alec watched from a glass balcony, hands gripping the rail. What kind of power was this? People walking miles just to keep broth safe. He ordered Lucia to live stream his own night prep, but only 2,000 tuned in. The rest were busy carrying hope down Maple Avenue. In a corner of the studio kitchen, Wren approached him softly. "Chef, you could ask for help too." "I pay staff," Alex snapped. "I don't beg strangers." Yet when Wren walked away, Alec felt a hollow rumble inside, not hunger, something lonelier. Meanwhile, at Mira's apartment, neighbors had taped foil blankets to windows to hold warmth. They'd also cleared floor space. Sleeping bags lined the walls so volunteers could nap in shifts. Benny eased the clay pot onto a low flame. Sam unpacked new river stones gifted by a geology teacher who'd joined the chain. Mrs. Kamal brewed cardamom tea for everyone. Mira set her mother's notebook on the table, opened to a blank page. She wrote only 2 words: "Still rising." That was the plan, nothing fancy, only faith. Around 11 p.m. an email pinged on her phone from Lana Cho. "Final tasting, 6 a.m. sharp. 1 spoon each served warm. No garnish required, the broth must sing alone. Perfect, less to pack, more to love." At 1 a.m. lullaby hum filled the room. Benny snipped mint. Sam stirred in time with his pulse. Volunteers whispered stories to keep eyelids open. The pot answered with soft bloops, steady as a heartbeat. Across town, Alec's lab roared. Sous chefs whisked foam, timers beeped, exhaust fans whined. But ingredients seemed to fight back, Wagyu rendering too much fat, saffron spheres refusing to set. The magic he'd forced earlier now felt like sand slipping through clenched fists. Lucia approached with a quiet question. "Chef, why not simplify?" The judge loved her clarity. Maybe... Alec slammed a ladle, splattering sauce. "I do not copy street recipes." He saw fear flash in Lucia's eyes and regretted it, but pride glued his apology inside. 2 a.m. The city dozed except 2 kitchens. In Mira's, the broth reached its peak shimmer liquid dawn. Brighter even than before. She tasted, smiled. Perfect. They cooled it to precisely 58 degrees, packed the jar in a cooler throne of donated ice packs, and let it rest. Everyone collapsed onto rugs and cushions. Mira remained awake, watching faint steam drift through the lid hole, like Evan waving goodbye and hello at once. Just before 5 a.m., she slipped outside for air. Street lamps flickered off. Birds tried tentative notes. Footsteps approached. Alec alone, coat unbuttoned. For a moment, neither spoke. City noises filled the gap. Finally, Alec said, half-murmur, "Why do they follow you?" Mira could have answered with speeches, but she offered truth. "Because I follow them first. Food listens before it speaks." He looked away, eyes shiny. "Evan would have liked tonight." "He is tonight," she said, "for both of us." Alec's shoulders shook once, maybe a laugh, maybe a sob. He turned, walked back to the arena without another word. Sunrise painted the sky peach. Volunteers stirred. Sam resealed the jar. Benny wrapped the clay pot in linen. They loaded everything into Mr. Chen's van one last time. Outside the arena, the human fridge chain reassembled, ice packs replaced with applause. Even security guards clapped them through. Inside, Alec stood at his station, eyes swollen but steady. His final broth clear, elegant, still waited in crystal bowls. The gold leaf was gone. Only flavor would speak now. 6 a.m. on the dot, Chef Leon entered, cane tapping. He nodded at both chefs, one humble, one humbled. Audience lights dimmed until only 2 bowls glowed under spotlights. 1 sip each, then judgment. But for the first time, Alec did not watch the spoon. He watched Mira, and his heartbeat found her rhythm. A rose-gold sun pushed light through the arena skylights as Chef Leon took his place between the 2 tasting tables. Cameras rolled. 9 million people watched in silence. Only one task remained: warm each broth to perfect serving heat, then pour and present. Mira unpacked her clay pot, set it on a small gas ring the crew had supplied. Alec lifted a sleek chrome saucepan onto an induction burner. 2 flames, 2 hearts. The host's voice came through the speakers. "Chefs, you have 15 minutes for final tempering. After that, ladles down forever." Mira steadied her breath and tuned her burner to the heartbeat loop, playing in her mind dum-dum-dum-dum, never rushed. Alec stared at the digital readout exactly 63 degrees and crossed his arms. 10 minutes left. The arena lights flickered once, twice. A quiet buzz swept the crowd. Lana Cho frowned at a control tablet. A storm overnight had soaked a transformer outside the hall. Backup generators coughed on, then failed. Every bulb died. Dark. A collective gasp rose. Screens went black, cameras silent. Only thin dawn light fell from the skylights, barely reaching the floor. The host shouted, "Remain calm. Technical team is on it." Alec cursed. Without power, his induction burner shut off. His broth temperature plunged. He smacked the controls. Nothing. His only matches lay across the room with emergency staff. Mira's little gas ring, however, burned steady blue. It needed no cables. She glanced toward Alec. For half a heartbeat she considered offering space on her flame, but he was already sprinting to a cold storage room, searching for portable stoves. Up in the stands, a child's voice called, "Use our phone lights," and a wave of small white beams blinked on. Thousands of spectators lifted screens, flashlights, even smart watches. The arena glittered like a field of stars. Mira smiled into the glow, whispered, "Thank you," and went on stirring. The broth shimmered gold beneath the phone lights, its steam a thin ribbon straight to the skylight. A volunteer tossed Benny 3 tall candles. He lit them and wedged them around the pot so Mira could watch the surface. The scene felt ancient, sacred fire, water and patience. Across the floor, Alec returned, dragging a clunky camping stove. He fumbled with a butane canister. The first spark misfired, singing his thumb. "Come on," he snarled. Second spark caught. Flame roared too high, splashing broth over the rim. Lucia tried to steady the pot, but the sudden heat curdled a layer of fat. A sour note rose. Alec's face drained of colour. 5 minutes. Sam watched Mira's thermometer. 59 degrees Celsius, climbing gently to 60. Perfect. Mira removed the pot from the flame and let it rest. She dipped her ladle liquid sunrise, unchanged. Alec whisked frantically, breaking up lumps, tasting, wincing. Each fix added salt, then sugar, chasing balance that kept slipping away. The crowd's starry lights showed everything. For the first time, pity not scorn murmured through the stands. 2 minutes. Chef Leon raised his cane, tapping once for silence. Even in darkness the sound carried. Chefs, prepare to plate. Mira poured her phoenix stew into 3 handcrafted bowls. Steam curled above them like feathers. She placed 1 bowl on the center tasting pedestal, the other 2 beside, then stepped back. Alec strained his broth through a fine mesh, hoping to clear the fat bloom. The stream looked glassy enough, but the aroma felt dull, as if the earlier sparks had burned away its song. Still, he filled 3 crystal cups, wiped the rims, set them on the pedestal. The emergency generators finally clanked to life. Floodlights blinked on, but no one cheered. The phone constellation had felt better than electricity. The host cleared his throat. "Judges, please approach." 3 critics and Chef Leon walked to the pedestal. They would taste Alec's broth first this time, then Mira's, to erase any order bias. Alec stood rigid, eyes front, every muscle tight. Leon lifted a silver spoon, dipped into the crystal cup, inhaled. The scent was pleasant roasted Wagyu bones, subtle spice but faint. Sip. A mild umami rolled across his palate, then faded fast. Leon folded his lips, thinking. Polite. The critics tasted, wrote notes. One whispered clean, but didn't smile. Leon rinsed with water, turned to the clay bowl glow. He dipped again. The moment the spoon rose, steam bathed his face. He closed his eyes and breathed like someone smelling rain after drought. Sip.
Silence.
He took a second sip, slower. His eyelids glistened. He set the spoon down, placed both hands on the edge of the pedestal, as if steadying himself. The critics followed, eyes widening, pens pausing mid-scribble. One asked softly, "Time? Riverstone?" Another answered, "Memory." Leon spoke, voice low yet carrying, "This broth is alive." A tremor of applause swept the audience, quickly stifled by security to keep tasting protocol. Leon bowed to both chefs, then left with the judges for final deliberation, this time in a room lit by battery lanterns, no screens, no data streams, pure palate. Mira exhaled, felt knees wobble. Benny slipped her a small bottle of water. She drank, hands shaking only now that the work was done. Alec stared at the floor, chest heaving. He looked up at Mira and managed 2 words, not loud enough for cameras, but clear enough for her. "Good stew." It sounded like a first apology, learning to walk. Mira gave a tiny nod acknowledgement, not victory. The arena lights dimmed once more for suspense. 10 long minutes crawled by. People held breaths until lungs hurt. Backstage, judges lined their spoons, compared notes. No tech, no noise, only taste. When the glass wall cleared again, Chef Leon stood in front, envelope in hand. The host rushed to center stage, voice quivering. "Audience, worldwide viewers, the moment is here." Alex straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. Mira pressed the 7-star pin against her heart. Leon broke the seal, but before he could read, he paused, raised his head. His gaze swept both chefs, full of something deeper than competition, something like pride at seeing cooking reborn. He unfolded the card. No one in the arena seemed to breathe. Chef Leon held the envelope like a fragile egg, his silver hair catching the fresh sunrise that poured through the roof. At last he spoke, quiet, sure, cutting through the hush. "The dish that carries not only craft but comfort, the bowl that still sings after the spoon is empty, belongs to Chef Mira Fernandez." A tidal cheer rocked the hall. Paper lantern signs shot upward, phone lights flashed. Somewhere in the balcony, a volunteer sob cried, "We did it!" Benny and Sam hugged so hard they spun. Mrs. Kamal covered her mouth, eyes brimming. Mira stepped back, one hand over her heart, the other still holding her ladle like a friend who'd never let go. Across the floor, Alec didn't collapse. He simply stood very still, as if memory itself had pressed pause. The crowd's roar faded into a single low hum inside his skull. Leon raised his cane. "Quiet, please, I have one more duty." The old master turned to Mira. "Your broth is alive because you cooked with every beat of your being. That spirit once earned you something rare. Will you accept it again publicly?" Mira understood. Fingers trembling, she unclipped the small object hidden under her apron and held it in open palm. A sun-shaped medal with 7 sharp rays. Gasps rippled row by row as giant screens zoomed in. The host almost dropped his mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, the mystery vendor we met 3 nights ago was a 7-star chef." The cheer roared back, twice as loud. Hastily printed memes of a sunflower-dressed superhero flashed across social feeds within seconds. Leon took the pin, then pinned it back on Mira's collar in full view. "Stars mean nothing if they live in darkness," he murmured. "Thank you for letting yours shine again." Camera drones spun, catching tears on her cheeks that mixed with a small, joyous laugh. Mira bowed to the judges, then important bowed lower toward the audience, the volunteers, the chain of strangers who carried her broth through night. The host turned to Alec, voice respectful but firm. "Chef Graves, the contest rules state your flagship restaurant now transfers to the National Children's Food Fund. Do you accept?" Alec swallowed, eyes clouded. Every lens pointed at him. For one horrible second, he looked 12 years old, lost after Evan's funeral again, but then he straightened. "Yes," he said, voice surprisingly clear. "I accept." The audience applauded, gentle this timeless victory. More relief. Alec stepped toward Mira. Their shadows met first. Then they stood face to face. Alec's words came rough, like he hadn't spoken human for years. "You saved Evan that night, gave him purpose. I blamed you because I had none." His eyes shone, but no tears fell. Pride never breaks all at once. "I'm sorry." Mira's answer was softer than the dawn, but every mic caught it. Blame spoils faster than milk. Let's pour it out, start fresh. He nodded, shoulders loosening. The hardest dish he'd ever eaten was humble pie, and he was halfway through the plate. A sudden commotion at stage left. A man in a Food League blazer, face chalk white, hurried up with 2 security guards. It was Juror Hale, one of the 3 critics. He clasped a mic, voice shaking. "I need to confess." The hall stilled again. Chef Graves offered me payment for a guaranteed perfect score. I almost agreed, but the taste of that broth, he gestured toward Mira, made the bribe feel poisonous. I refused the money and resigned my post. Gasps, then applause reel, ragged human. Alec flinched but didn't deny it. I tried to buy what I hadn't earned, he admitted, but the spoon never lies. Lana Cho stepped in, looking half furious, half exhilarated, the kind of scandal that boosts ratings yet cleans house. "The ethics board will handle sanctions," she announced, "but the result stands. Integrity won." Cameras shifted back to Mira. She motioned Benny and Sam forward. "Victory belongs to every hand that helped," she said. Then louder, "Who's hungry?" A roar answered. On cue, volunteers wheeled out vats of her extra broth kept warm by portable burners donated since dawn. Ushers handed out compostable cups. Steam curled into the rafters as thousands tasted Phoenix comfort. Judge Leon himself ladled the first scoop for a janitor who'd been mopping side aisles in tears. Broadcast chat feeds exploded. "I'm hugging my screen. Going to cook for my neighbor today. Chef Alec redemption arc incoming?" Alec stood uncertain until Benny walked over and offered him a cup. "It heals bad thumbs, too," he joked, nodding to the scorch mark Alec earned last hour. Alec accepted, sipped. A shaky breath left him. Some invisible chain snapped. In that moment, a gleam of possibility entered his eyes, perhaps the same spark Evan once carried. But that story would be tomorrow's recipe. For now, sunrise light poured over the arena, reflecting off a tiny 7-point star and 1,000 tear-shined smiles. Flavor had done what money, fame, and fear could not. It brought scattered hearts to one table. The host lifted his mic for final words, but no script matched the feeling, so he simply said, "Stay kind, stay hungry." The day after the showdown, storm clouds finally rolled out of the city, leaving streets washed clean, almost as if the sky itself wanted a fresh start. Reporters, however, smelled more thunder. They packed the Food League auditorium for an emergency press conference, bright lights, sharper questions. At center stage sat 2 nameplates. Chef Mira Fernandez, winner, Phoenix Stew Invitational. Chef Alec Graves, donor, Graves at the Crown. Mira arrived first, sunflower yellow scarf hiding fatigue. She carried no entourage, only her mother's notebook, now dotted with new tea stains of victory. Applause scattered like polite rain. Then Alec entered. No music, no entourage either, just slow steps and a plain grey jacket that made his 6-star past feel like someone else's costume. Murmurs rippled. "Is that really him?" Lana Cho opened with polished calm. "Today, Chef Graves will sign transfer papers, granting his flagship restaurant to the National Children's Food Fund, where Chef Fernandez has agreed to establish a tuition-free culinary academy." Cameras flashed, pens clicked. The moderator slid 2 thick contracts on the table. Alec's hand hovered over the pen. He took one breath, then another, memories crowding behind his eyes. Evan's laugh, Mira's glowing broth, the word forgiveness. Finally he signed, ink bold and steady. A digital confirmation pinged. The deed filed live on public record. Headlines hit social feeds mid-stroke. Graves at the Crown becomes kids' kitchens. Chef Alex Graves makes amend, Mirror to lead. A reporter barked, "Chef Graves, any regrets?" He met the lens head-on. Only that it took losing to find purpose. Mirror slid her notebook toward him. Page 73, community soup costed at 28 cents a bowl. We'll need your math on scaling. The subtle invitation join the work, not just pay for it, sent a hush through the room. Alec nodded, almost grateful. Outside, a school bus arrived, noisy with 20 middle schoolers chosen by lottery to preview their future classroom. They rushed through gleaming doors of what had been the most exclusive dining room in town, white linen replaced by butcher block tables, chandeliers swapped for soft pendant lights shaped like copper ladles. The kids gaped. "We get to cook here?" one boy asked, voice cracking. Mirror knelt, eye level. "Not just cook teach each other. Food is a circle." She handed him a wooden spoon the size of his forearm. The grin he gave could have powered the building better than any transformer. Alec lingered in the doorway, unsure where to stand in his own ex-palace. Lucia, still sous chef but freer now, nudged him. "Grab an apron, chef. Knife skills demo starts in 10. She said chef like a reminder of what the word should mean. He tied a simple cotton apron, no logo, no platinum thread, and joined a pod of kids. They circled cutting boards with carrots and safety knives. Alec fought muscle memory screaming for perfect brunoise. Instead, he guided a shaky hand, praising nice little triangles. A shy girl giggled when her piece came out trapezoid. Alec laughed too. The sound felt rusty but real. Meanwhile, Benny live-streamed a tour, refurbished pantry shelves labeled Herbs of Hope, Starches of Strength, and a chalkboard map titled Food Comes from People. Donations poured through QR codes on screen. Commenters wrote, "Real karma is building, not breaking. Chef Alec redemption complete." "When does enrollment open?" By late afternoon, local officials arrived for a health inspection walk-through formal step before the grand reopening. Mira led them past simmering stock pots manned by volunteer grannies. The inspectors sniffed, scribbled, then paused at the walk-in freezer. Power system entirely upgraded, dual generators, a note taped inside. Cold can harm or heal, respect the switch. AG. The head inspector smiled, passed with high honors. Stamps thudded like victory drums. Children cheered. Confetti, dried parsley, rained from mezzanine rails. Evening settled blue-purple over the city. The first community dinner service began. Turnip phoenix dumplings plated on recycled bamboo, paired with cups of golden broth, now called rising stew. Tickets cost whatever guests could pay. Many paid nothing. Some paid extra. The dining room rang with clatter, stories, and the soft surprise of strangers finding new friends. Mid-service, Mira slipped into the quiet garden courtyard, once a VIP cigar lounge, now tomato planters and herb boxes. She breathed in soil and possibility. Footsteps approached. Alec stood with 2 steaming bowls. "Taste test," he asked. She sipped. The flavor carried Wagyu bone depth, not lavish, just honest woven with thyme and mint. "Heartbeat simmer?" she guessed. He chuckled. "Practiced all night. Harder than liquid nitrogen, easier than pride." Silence grew comfortable. Wind tugged at hanging chimes forged from retired copper pans. Finally, Alec spoke, voice low. "I want the academy named after Evan, if you agree." Mira's throat tightened. She gripped her bowl. "Evan Graves' Children's Kitchen," she said softly. "He'd say the name's too long." "Then we'll call it Phoenix Kitchen," Alec replied. "People can read the plaque to learn why." They clinked bamboo cups, a toast of broth, not champagne. Inside, Benny's stream caught kids teaching parents how to julienne zucchini. Sam high-fived a little boy who nailed a perfect sizzle. Comments scrolled. "From ego to echo, good deeds travel. Best finale ever, but craving epilogue." Mira watched through the window, heart flowing with the same warmth once locked in a clay pot. Karma had indeed come hot, but not to burn to temper steel into something kinder. Above the doorway, fresh paint glowed under string lights. Every soul deserves a seat at the table. 6 months later, dawn slips over Maple Avenue like warm butter on toast, where gilt letters once screamed Graves at the Crown. A hand-painted sign now smiles. Phoenix Community Kitchen. Every soul deserves a seat at the table. The building smells of sourdough, cinnamon, and a little paint that still hasn't dried. A line already curls around the corner grandparents, giggling toddlers in cardboard chef hats, night shift nurses, and 3 skateboarders who swear the rice porridge hits harder than energy drinks. Inside, the dining room has changed again. White linen formality is long gone. Tables are maple blocks etched with doodles from yesterday's kids' class stick figure onions and heroic ladles. The old chandelier crystals have been repurposed into sun catchers hanging over herb boxes. When morning light passes through, dancing rainbows skitter across the walls and onto people's plates. In the kitchen, a heartbeat monitor blinks on a tiny screen. It doesn't track patience, it tracks simmer. A gentle bub, bub on the sensor means the day's dawn broth is staying in rhythm. Sam, now senior apprentice at 17, gives a thumbs up. "Heartbeat perfect," he says. A choir of volunteer grannies team sage. They call themselves Cheer softly and return to chopping onions at a pace that would humble any sous chef. Over by the prep sink stands Alec grey cotton apron, no platinum thread, no embroidered stars. He shows 3 at-risk teens how to hold a chef's knife safely. One boy's hands shake. Alec places his own over them, steady but gentle. "Let the knife walk," he says. "You're just guiding." The boy breathes, tries again, slices a carrot into clean coins. Victory grin unlocked. Alec laughs an easy sound these days, and looks up as Mira enters carrying a bag of morning mint still kissed by dew. The room's noise hushes not from fear, just natural respect. She nods once to Alec, once to the teens, then to the simmering stock that already smells like good choices. 7-point pin still rests above her heart, but no one talks about stars anymore. They talk about servings. "Check in?" she asks. 53 bowls pledged, 137 bowls free. Lucia reports from a whiteboard titled, "Today's Promises." Donations via QR code keep the math honest and the menu elastic. Before doors open, Mira gathers staff, kids and volunteers in a loose circle. No corporate pep talk, just 5 words. Feed with love, taste hope. Everyone taps their chest, twice kitchen shorthand for the heartbeat technique. Doors swing, the line flows, ladles swirl, bowls land. A new mother, exhausted, tastes turnip phoenix dumpling, eyes flood. A suit-clad banker tries dawn broth, loosens tie, donates half a paycheck. A shy ESL student polishes her first English sentence. "More stew, please?" Cheers erupt. Mid-service, a silver-haired man in a simple cap slips in. Only a few recognize Chef Leon. He pays for 2 bowls but receives 3. Policy for elders. He eats in quiet joy, leaving behind a small card. Flavor still alive. At noon, the mayor pops by with reporters to award the kitchen the City Star for civic impact. Cameras crowd, but Mira waves them toward the kids' station instead. "Interview the future," she laughs. A tiny girl in pink oven mitts proudly explains how dumplings float when ready because their tummies are full of stories. Outside, a second sign-up sheet fills. Satellite Garden volunteers. Mr. Chen, now Director of Dirt, coordinates rooftop planters. Next harvest, they'll launch Phoenix Kitchen No. 2 in an old bus depot across the river. By late afternoon, the serving counter slows. Benny, ever the documentarian, goes live one more time. "Roll call," he says, panning. Mrs. Kamal grinding cardamom with 2 8-year-olds. Lucia teaching ratios on a chalkboard shaped like a teacup. Alec wiping tables with the carrot coin champion, both laughing at soap bubbles. Mira in the courtyard, finishing a second notebook titled Recipes Are Promises, Volume 2. She writes the final line. Fire grows when shared. Then she signs it E&M for Evan and Mira, for everyone and many. Evening paints the sky mango. String lights flicker on, made from rescued copper measuring cups. The crew rolls a 200-litre cauldron into the street. Tonight is Community Feast Day pay with a joke, a dance, a story, or nothing at all. Citizens arrive holding 1 ingredient each, a single carrot, a fist of noodles, an herb sprig. They drop gifts into the cauldron. Mira stirs, Alec seasons, kids chant bub 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 to keep the simmer steady. A drone camera captures the crowd from above. People stand in a loose heart shape around the cauldron, phone flashlights blinking like stars. The drone feed goes viral in minutes caption, "City beats as one." When the stew is ready, volunteers pass bowls hand to hand. 1,000 spoons lift, 1,000 sighs follow. Somewhere a street musician starts strumming. Couples sway, elders clap. Teenagers forget irony and join in. Mira steps onto a milk crate, raises her ladle. "If this meal warmed you," she calls, "pass the warmth. Cook for a neighbor. Teach a child. Share this video. Taste is the bridge. Let's keep crossing." Applause answers. Phones tilt up. Notifications ping across continents. Alec climbs onto the crate beside her, half shy, half bold. "And if you're scared you'll mess up," he says, "start with a heartbeat and listen. The stew will tell you the rest." Laughter cheers, one playful boo from Lucia. "Speechmaker." Then music swells again. Steam curls into the night air, carrying time, mint, and something lighter than either renewed faith. The camera pans out, city lights twinkling, cauldron glowing, 2 chefs who were once opposites, now stirring the same hope.